Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of our Mastering Maize and Blue podcast series, a series dedicated for freshmen and other incoming students to get acclimated to the resources on campus, but without actually having to be on campus. I'm one of your hosts today, Roman Bruno, and I'm joined by Kelly Quinlan. We are both the two orientation program assistants this year for the summer, and really excited for this season, let alone this episode. And we're covering a topic that's really important today. It's sort of a welcome back to campus episode, kind of geared towards the fall. And I kind of mentioned it in our Instagram live that was recently posted, but we do have a simple answer, but it can also change throughout the summer. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But just to introduce ourselves, like I mentioned, my name is Roman. My major is communications with a PR certificate. I'm also a sports writer for the Michigan Journal, and I was a part of the cruise program as a freshman. And my favorite superhero is Mr. Incredible.
Hi everyone, my name is Kelly Quinlan. I am a political science and environmental studies double major. I am president of Political Science Association, and I'm also involved in Phi Mu fraternity. And my favorite snack is strawberries. And today we are joined by Amy Finley, so you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good morning, everybody. I am Amy Finley, and I serve as the Dean of Students at the University of Michigan Dearborn. And I see on the slide, we have Office of Student Life. That's one of the 7 different areas that I oversee as the leader for the Division of Student Affairs. Been on campus for quite a long time, really looking forward to getting back to campus and talking in person with all of you.
Thank you, Amy. So getting started really quickly, what is your favorite part about U of M Dearborn?
No questions asked, it's the students. I know this is really going to surprise people given my title, but I've had the opportunity to work with hundreds and hundreds of students over my years, both in higher education and at University of Michigan Dearborn. But I can tell you that at U of M Dearborn, our students are incredibly special. They have grit, they have perseverance. You know, we have about 42% of our students are first generation college students that are coming to us, you know, in some cases unsure of themselves, not knowing where the path is going to lead. It is such an honor and a blessing to be able to help students navigate their way, figure out what they're passionate about, expose them to new ideas, new career opportunities that maybe they didn't know about before. Working with students is a joy, and that is absolutely my favorite part about working at U of M.
And even on the reciprocal end, I'm sure many students would say that the community is their favorite part of the campus. It makes us who we are. And while it might be an answer that you might hear a lot, I mean, it's never not enough times just to keep saying it. I mean, it's truly, like you said, a blessing and an honor to be on a campus like this.
It is. And, you know, we talk about often being the only commuter campus for your public university in Michigan. But I like to think of us as meeting multiple needs, right? We're a commuter campus with a community feel. So for many of our students, they either didn't want to or couldn't take on housing. So by being at a commuter campus, it really helps them achieve their dreams. But we still have that community feel. We still have that opportunity to be a part of something special. So we're the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and getting back into the community, there's many ways to describe it. How would you describe the campus and the community?
So I think, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure, throughout, but I think it's an inclusive community. And so I want to draw a really big distinction between a diverse community and an inclusive community. And yes, we are a very diverse community, but more importantly, we are an inclusive community, as inclusion means actively participating, actively bringing everyone to the table in the ways that they want to, versus diversity just happens to be who attends the campus. And so we work really hard at that. That's something that you can never stop working hard at, right? You don't reach a level and then take your foot off the gas. You have to continue to actively work to maintain an inclusive community. I would also describe us as very invested in the future of Southeast Michigan. About 80% of our alumni live in the Tri-County areas, whether that's Oakland County, Macomb County, or Wayne County. Our students make an intentional decision to stay and make Southeast Michigan a better place to live, work, and play. It's important because we are an economic driver for the region. We are bringing students in our doors. We are offering them an opportunity in many cases for significant social mobility, moving into the middle class, the upper middle class, and really making a difference in Southeast Michigan. That's another way I would describe our community. And then finally, and I said this before, but I think it's worth mentioning again, our students have incredible grit and perseverance. Many of our students come to us with challenges. We know that less than 50%, but not that much less than 50% of our students are Pell eligible, which means a measure of economic disadvantage. And yet, and still, they come to us, they work very hard, and they leave us with a world-class Michigan degree. So that grit and perseverance really pays off.
Yeah, I think it's something completely, it's absolutely blown my mind, honestly. Meeting the students that I've met in just my first 2 years here, everybody kind of has the same mindset with like being so on top of school and just really, really getting after that Michigan degree. And it's just really impressive. And everybody on this campus, like you said, we have a very, very inclusive community. Everybody really knows everybody, which is a wonderful aspect of our smaller campus here in Dearborn. And it's been pretty great. You meet so many amazing people from so many different backgrounds that a lot of people I know growing up just didn't really have. You come from all over Southeast Michigan, which can be a very broad range of cities and towns. And it's really amazing once you get to Dearborn, the people you meet.
And we have a vibrant international community, as international student community as well. And our international students are also seeking ways to get involved, right? So all of our students are working together to figure out whether it's different programs or whether it's just informal and hanging out. We have so many opportunities for people to reach out and meet others different than them and learn from them, learn about their culture, learn about their experiences, things like that.
Okay, so our next question for you is going to be like, what are the main responsibilities of
I'm
your
sure there's a
job?
lot though, yeah.
A ton.
So I have a funny story to tell. I went to the doctor. I wasn't feeling very good. And she asked me, what do you do? And I said, I'm the dean of students at the University of Michigan Dearborn. And she said, do you dean all the students? And I said, I don't know. I don't know exactly what that means. But I thought that was pretty cute. So I like to say, I dean all the students. Deaning is now a verb. No. In all seriousness, you may know that in the Division of Student Affairs, we have a number of units, including the Office of Student Life, the Center for Social Justice and Inclusion, Ombuds, our Counseling and Psychological Services, CAPS, Disability and Accessibility Services, programs, et cetera, et cetera. My responsibility is to help those flourish, right? And to constantly be seeking out and adding programs and services and supports that really help our students. So different times call for different needs. I will tell you, in the pandemic, the team that's had to step up the most is our counseling team, right? CAPS has been amazing in pandemic. In just a week, we had to transition all appointments from in-person to telehealth, and we did. We're somewhere in the range of 3,500, I believe, appointments since the pandemic started on telehealth. We have daily drop-in hours for people who might be experiencing a more significant issue, and we have a 24/7 crisis line. So my main responsibilities are to really understand what students need, help us to get what they need, but also to be the students' voice at the senior leadership table and to help advocate for the types of policies, programs, services, academic programs that students are saying are important to them.
I think it's just impressive in general how many resources on campus have been able to swiftly transition to online help. I mean, CAPS is a big one. I know they've been doing virtual meetings as well. Academic advising is another one, the Writing Center. Student orgs, that's also another big facet of student life that's been transitioning to online. And even just academics in general. I think it's just really impressive, and I applaud, everyone involved for making that happen.
We didn't have a choice, right?
Yeah.
I will say, if we look back 2 years or 2.5 years, and if you'd have said to me, can you make this happen, all online? I would have giggled and said, you're crazy. We can't do that, right? Well, we had to, so we did. And actually, there are some lessons learned, right? There are some things where we're going to say, oh, you want to know, I think I'll use academic advising. Thank you for raising that, Roman. I think in the future, when you make the appointment, you're going to be able to say whether you want that via Zoom or in person, right? Because you might have a day where you don't need to come to campus. Maybe you don't have classes on Friday. Why would you want to drive 30 minutes to come for a 30-minute advising appointment, right? So I think flexibility is something that we've learned about in this pandemic, that we have more opportunities to be flexible moving forward than we ever thought. We probably wouldn't have bet the farm on online, outside of necessity. But now that we have, we're really trying to see, are there some things here that we could carry forward that really worked?
Absolutely. And while you mentioned many of your responsibilities, is there anything that you can narrow down as maybe your favorite part about your job?
Well, sometimes there are, working with students is my favorite part, right? But I think maybe the Student Leadership Awards is a high point. If you've been on campus for a number of years, you've probably participated in a Student Leadership Awards ceremony. Typically, we honor up to maybe even 300 students in an award ceremony, because you've got your difference makers, and there's 50 of those. You've got all your certificate winners, you've got all your award winners, you've got random people who've done really cool things that are getting recognized. And to me, it's just a reminder of the kinds of students we have, the community leaders, campus leaders, people who are having big ideas and then figuring out how can we take action on them. So it's probably my most cherished program of the year. Is it my favorite part? I don't know. Another thing I would say, another area that falls under my responsibility, and you're probably going to say, this is your favorite part, but I'm going to say it, is student conduct. And I don't mean when students behave well. I mean when, students have made a mistake and they've done something that maybe they shouldn't have. I appreciate that we have the opportunity to get involved and say, you're driving down the road. Most of us have driven before, right? And maybe you turn the radio station and you look down for a second and the car veered just a little bit off the road and you got one wheel off the road, right? You can get that car back on the road. Whew. Okay, pay attention, we have the opportunity right then to say, hey, student, we made an error here. Let's figure out how to get you the resources you need so you don't have to make this mistake again. Let's figure out how we got here, and let's make it right so that in 5 years, you're a big time in love, making big time donations, right? That this was just a blip, just a learning opportunity. So I really appreciate that opportunity to help course correct somebody who maybe made a bad decision. There aren't bad students. There's just bad decisions sometimes.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And like you said, there are resources to help, rehabilitate students, get them on the right track, like you mentioned. So no one's counted out, no one's, ostracized. We're all in it together, and, we can all, achieve the same things pretty much.
Yeah, I really like your outlook on really every aspect of your job, Amy. Every single aspect of your job, no matter how difficult it can be for you. You just have a very positive outlook, and you always see the positive in it. It's just something I know all of our students on campus really love about having you as our Dean of Students. You just do a lot of amazing work for us, and a lot of times it goes unnoticed by students. A lot of students don't even recognize how much you do for us. So with
Are you saying they don't read my email, Kelly?
I would never say that. But with all of that being said, what did make you want to get involved in this field, and particularly in being Dean of Students for really all of our students rather than just one college?
Mm-hmm. So most people don't find that the career more broadly is called student affairs, right? And most people don't grow up in elementary when they have career day. What do you want to be? I want to be a student affairs professional. That's not a thing most people know about unless maybe they have someone in their life who's a student affairs professional, right? So I actually wanted to be an attorney with the goal of being the first female Supreme Court Justice. Sandra Day O'Connor rained on my parade. Still a little bitter about that, but in undergrad, I was flailing a little bit and said, just like many of our students, you think you know what path you want. I'm going to be a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher, whatever it might be. And then you're taking the classes and you're saying, I'm not sure this is for me. So finished my undergraduate degree, but decided, law school is not my jam, and didn't know what to do. And I had been a part of a student organization in college, a co-ed honor fraternity that happened to send out an email to all graduating seniors to all the chapters across the country. So about 125 chapters across the country at different colleges, right? And they said, we're looking for consultants, people who've been a part of the organization. Many of our fraternities and sororities know this, our members know this, but most of those folks have some sort of regional consultant, national consultant. And so I said, well, what the heck? It's for 1 year. I get to travel around the country and go to the different schools. And I thought that would sound pretty cool to me. So I applied and I got that job. And, I just loved advising and working with student organizations, right? And it happened to be that I knew this organization, but I thought, well, this is really something I could do on a broader scale. And I said to a colleague, the travel was getting a little old for me. And I said to a colleague, gosh, I just wish I could do, one of my less finer moments, by the way, I wish I could do this just in one place. That would be really cool. And he said, why don't you work for a college? And I said, oh, hadn't thought about that. That's a great idea. And so started to learn a little bit more about the field of student affairs and get introduced to that, realized I needed to get a master's. Did that, absolutely loved the coursework, said, I'm finally in a path where I feel like this is the right path for me. Not because it's what somebody else wanted me to do, not because it's, super prestigious. That's not why I want to be in a job. I want to go somewhere where I feel like I fit, where I feel excited to come to work, to do the work. And it just took off from there. And I've been in the field for just over 20 years now. And it's absolutely the right path for me. And in 2018, I became the Dean of Students. And that was just a natural progression from some of the different roles that I'd held prior to that.
I think like the essence of the story can range similar for many people. You grow up having like an idea of what you want to be, and then as you get closer to college or high school, you kind of have like a more realistic perspective and maybe change plans a little bit. I'm sure at one point many people have thought about doing something and then having to change plans. Absolutely. And that can even happen going into college. It can even happen like many years after college of this. I have this major, but I think I want to do something different instead.
Yeah, there's no shame in changing, right? People change their major all the time. And if that's the right path for them, then I fully support it. You don't want to be 20 years into a career and miserable, right? You want to wake up in the morning and say, hey, I'm glad to go to work today, right? And I sometimes see other people's jobs and I think, I would not want to wake up in the morning and go to your job, right? I know there's plenty of people who don't love what they do. And I think getting a college education and getting exposure to a lot of fields means you should be able to find something that you like what you do. Now, I'm not saying when there are 6 inches of snow outside from the night before and the roads are icy that, I'm always enthusiastic about driving into work, but, 99% of the time I wake up and I'm excited about what I do.
That's awesome. And kind of going back into your offices, you corrected us earlier, and you have a lot of offices that you look after. Are there any fun facts about any of your offices that most students wouldn't particularly know?
Ooh, fun fact. Well, I would say, I think most people know this, but our people are pretty fun. And I think that my team, we've got about 30 people in student affairs. I'm not putting down any other team on campus, but I think student affairs has one of the best teams in town. We're really, really excited to work with students. We're really dedicated. We go the extra mile. It's not a fun fact, but it's a good fact. I don't think people always know, and that's something that we can do a better job of, what student affairs is, what it comprises, right? Who's in the division of student affairs. I think most people, just like you all, just lump everything into student life, right? That's an easy thing to do. But when you think about CAPS, you think about disability and accessibility resources, ombuds, TRIO, CSJI, student conduct, there's a lot more depth and breadth there. Even this year, our COVID support hotline for students, you may know, is coming out of student affairs. Oftentimes on a campus, we're, the kitchen sink, right? We collect we collect things that other people aren't doing. And so we were happy this year to step up and dedicate a line and hire a full-time person, Maddie, to pick up the phone and help students. And actually, we've just crossed 1,000 students that we've helped triage issues for. And those aren't necessarily just because a student got COVID, but they might need access to a laptop to do online coursework, right? They might be having trouble with food security, and we can get them connected to our food pantry, which of course is also in student affairs. It might be mental health, and we can connect them to our CAPS team. So we're really proud of the way that we kind of just have to figure out, well, we need to develop something new because there's a need out there and we get it done.
I think one thing that was also not mentioned, you might have touched on it a little bit, but I mean, there are also student employment opportunities through many of these offices, and that's something that many people probably wouldn't know about coming into college.
Yeah, and on the whole campus, actually, I want to point out that we have tons of student employment opportunities. And if you think about it, it's probably a better gig to be on campus than it is to be more off campus, whether it's a fast food restaurant or a coffee house, because your supervisor on campus is going to be more willing during midterms and finals to give you a little break, right? And help you navigate a difficult issue. If you're like, man, I don't know how to solve this, you can ask the supervisor and they can say, oh, that's easy, call ITS, or whatever the issue is and how it might need to be triaged. There's actual data that says that students who are employed on campus get to degrees quicker, right? They persist at a greater rate. They have higher GPAs. So it's probably not a bad look to have an on-campus job.
Yeah, I know Kelly and I's experience of an on-campus job is a little different than what typically would be, but being an orientation leader online for the past couple of years, I enjoyed it very much. I think Kelly can agree with me on that. And regardless of it being online compared to having in-person orientation, I think just having the orientation in itself and helping students out is what, makes our job fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. With all of that being said, on track of orientations, what is some advice that you would give to all of our new students coming to U of M Dearborn this fall, whether it be online, still hybrid, or in person entirely?
So it's one word, connect, right? And for everybody, that might mean something different. So some people connect through an on-campus job, right? That's their way that they get connected to the institution, feel like they have a family in the office in which they work, make friends, colleagues, etc. For others, it might be being a student athlete and their team and all of that. And for some, and many of them, it's student organizations. We have north of 150 student organizations in a wide array of interest areas. And we have new organizations popping up every single day, right? So that's another great way to get engaged. It may be that you're not ready if you're a new student to get engaged in a student organization. And just a reminder, stopping at a meeting doesn't make you the president. So you don't have to, you don't have to commit to too much. But a different way might just be to show up virtually or in person to a program, see what it's all about. The Office of Student Life has a ton of programs. Disability and Accessibility Services has game nights every week. We have tons and tons and tons of great programs that are available. And so I would encourage folks, you're paying tuition, right? Get the most bang for your buck, participate. Cruise to Success, for example. Roman, I think you mentioned you were in Cruise. That's an awesome program because it helps students know everything that's going on campus that they might need to be aware of. For some of our students, none of that may work out, but maybe it's the math center when you're facing a difficult math course. I know I struggled in math in college. Maybe it's the reading center, right? Maybe it's one of the academic support resources. Maybe it's just even to get to know your academic advisor better. So connect to something that makes sense for you based on your own commitments, your own preferences, the time you have, everything like that.
And we've gotten advice, or we've heard advice from other students that, getting out of your comfort zone makes a good college experience as well. But even if you aren't comfortable in doing that, at least just getting a feel, like you said, of different orgs, showing up to maybe the org fair, something like that. And like you mentioned, just getting in touch with the advisors, professors, and all that. Starting small, obviously, and then you can always work your way up and take on more challenging things, more responsibility and stuff like that. So, making the most of your college experience starts with getting involved. I think Kelly can also agree with that.
You can start as the person sitting in the back of the room, just kind of eyeballing it, right? Again, being involved doesn't make you the president. If in a couple of years that's what you'd like to do, that's awesome. But there's absolutely there's nothing that should prevent you from just being a participant if that's where you feel most comfortable.
Yeah, for sure. And now we're getting obviously into the main question of this episode of what students want to know in terms of the fall. I mentioned on on the Instagram live not too long ago that we have an answer, and I'm sure you'll go in depth with that. But it's also an answer that can change depending on updates and stuff like that. And this is something that we'll also be talking to students with at orientations. But as of right now, what can students expect coming to campus this fall?
Well, I'll tell you, we're very excited to be coming back in a lot of ways in the fall, right? So as many have heard, if you're reading my Sunday night PM email, and just as a reminder to new students, or if I haven't said it already, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. an email comes out that's from me, but it's really a campus-wide email that gives you important information about what's going on, what to get involved with, what you need to know, free resources, free stuff, all kinds of things. I can tell you that I watch the data of who opens the email, and within usually about 18 hours, we're over 50% of our students have opened the email. So we get excellent readership on that email because students know that was designed to aggregate all of the important information you need as opposed to a series of one-off emails in your inbox. But we're excited to bring about 62% of our courses back in person in some capacity, whether that's fully in person or hybrid. That is an average of the 4 colleges. So it'll be a little bit different depending on your academic major or the courses that you select. We will have still a wide variety of courses online. We know that people are at a different place in the pandemic, right? Some people, they're ready to come back. They just want to be in person. And there are others who still feel, hey, I'd like to work my way slowly back in. I still want another term, whatever the case may be. So our plan was designed with the hope that to meet you where you're at. So if being online is still your jam, we're going to help you make that happen to the extent possible. If being in person is where you want to be, we're going to find classes that meet that need. As you may know, also we are asking students to upload vaccine documentation, or if they don't want to do that, which is okay. Not everybody wants to get a vaccine. A second option will be, and we'll give information later this summer, but how they can share with us evidence of a negative COVID test. Or some people may choose the option to stay online and then don't have to think about either of those two. So again, this is that flexibility to help students, to get the solution that they're most comfortable with, right? We are seeing, as you know, over the last 18 years, 18 months, okay, not 18 years, it's a very long pandemic. Woo! But it's been a very fluid situation, right? And things change every single day. So, the university has also changed and tried to be staying as closely monitoring the health situation as possible, such that we can make appropriate modifications. So you may have noticed that about a month ago, we relaxed mask standards, saying that people could be outside now without their masks on, right? We're going to be announcing in the email, but announce to faculty staff now that those who are fully vaccinated do not need to wear masks in buildings, save the classroom or UM transportation. So again, here are examples of the university really following health and safety guidance from CDC, from the Michigan Department of Health and Safety, from OSHA, to make sure that we're continuing as is appropriate to modify to give the best experience to our students and faculty staff as well.
Yeah, you said flexible. Accommodating is also a good word that comes to mind, even in terms of, vaccine, no vaccine, or even types of classes that you'd pick. I mean, there's something for everyone. So you can always pick at what you're comfortable with. Kelly and I both believe we'll be back on campus in the fall for classes. So we're very excited about that.
Awesome.
Yeah, but we also have some online as well. So just getting back to campus is better than no time on campus. I think that's something everyone can agree with. But
and there's now study space available in the library. So we've done some additional things. I know not everybody has summer classes, but even just the summer, we have study space available in the library. So really trying to do a lot to start building back.
Yeah, I definitely think that all the work you've done, honestly, throughout COVID entirely, Amy, has been extremely impressive. You've been nonstop since the second COVID was in the state of Michigan. So yeah, you've been doing amazing work. And like you said, the Sunday night emails, we're just going to keep plugging those. Most people definitely throughout COVID have definitely started reading them more and more. They've definitely
The
started.
numbers tell that, yes.
Yeah, they've definitely started to serve as sort of a lifeline for students, which has been, I mean, one way of getting students to read those more, I guess. But yeah, I've definitely found that students have been reading them a lot more, which I think is great. And hopefully that continues into this fall, even if people are returning to campus. When can we expect updates in regards to guidelines, or do you just want to plug your website for fall planning?
So we have, like I mentioned, we have so in the summer, the all student emails only every other week as opposed to every week because it's the summer, right? So there should be more information coming out this next Sunday, so in 6 days. As I mentioned about some relaxed mask standards. We're continuing to monitor. So as things change, we're having conversation at the leadership table and figuring out if there's any changes. As soon as those changes are made, they're going to get dropped into email, whether that's an all student Sunday night email or a separate email. As you know, sometimes separate emails get sent out as well. If there's something kind of late breaking news that we feel students need to know more quickly, then we're going to send it that way. You can also find on our website, there is under the COVID page, there's all communications. So that is a place where, in case you're like, hey, there was an email 2 weeks ago, but gosh, I can't find it in my email. You can pop on there and you can look. There's also, if it's a Dean of Students email from me on the Dean of Students website, you'll see a page for student communication. And it's every single email we've sent in the last almost 2 years. So always easy to find. Links are still there, so you can click through everything like that. So we will continue to keep you all apprised. I was going to tell you also that we did a survey in the fall asking students how things are going, what we could improve, what was going well. And one of the areas that was the strongest in terms of student feedback was student communications. And students felt like they were getting enough communication. And they may not like our decisions, right? That's not the question, but they knew what was going on. And they didn't feel like, I don't even know what I'm doing. So that's been an area we've been really proud of. Is we know not everyone's going to agree, right? But at least you can know what the expectations are.
And even as orientation leaders, as soon as we get any updates and information, we're going to share it with the freshmen. Every orientation, we're already plugging at the guidelines for this fall. And I think we'll just continue to keep mentioning it and being transparent and communicating. And I guess the best plug is your emails, exactly. So
and those emails don't go to incoming students for the fall, right? They'll get on that current student list start of the term.
Absolutely. And a more of a lighthearted question now. Any fun facts about yourself?
I am fun. No. Well, as many of you know, I am sort of a person divided. I am a Michigan State grad from undergrad and my PhD, right? And they say wherever you went to undergrad is kind of how you bleed, right? But I've been at Dearborn since 2003 as an intern, 2004 as a full-time staff member, and I have such appreciation and love for what we do. So I tell people all the time that I'm really grateful that you all were looking for leaders in Best and you marched right up to East Lansing and got me. So that's kind of fun. I had an opportunity as a senior in college to attend the NCAA National Championships when Michigan State won. I was in the 6th row at the final game. That was one of the coolest experiences of my life, seeing that national championship game. Neither of you were born then, so this is great. But that's something that's really cool and I like a lot.
A house divided, it sounds like, for sure.
Yeah. And Kelly says I have a cute son. Yes, I do. He is 6.5 years old and he's headed off to his first day of summer school today.
Oh, wow.
He is absolutely adorable, and I love seeing all of your pictures of him too.
Thank you.
Kelly, do you have any fun facts about yourself?
That's a great question. No, not really.
That's a hard question to answer though, isn't it?
You'd think like the fun facts, well, I do, but most people don't like hearing about it. My only fun fact is that I've had both of my femurs broken, and I'm actually about to have one of them rebroken. But
Oh,
most people
jeez.
don't like hearing about like the like rough, like kind of creepy medical stuff. So, but now you guys are stuck hearing about that in this podcast. So, yeah. Other than that, we also have your email plugged here. Site that we will be adding here for you guys will be the fall 2021 the planning website, and then we will also be adding the website for this podcast and all of our other podcast series as we upload them. Yes, here's the Mastering Maize and Blue website. And other than that, Amy, do you have any final parting thoughts or words for our incoming students this fall?
Nope,
other than Go Blue?
Yes, I do wanna plug a program. So the day before classes start each year, we have a program that's had a couple of different names, but this year it's going to be called Wolverine Welcome. And it will be the start to welcome week, but it's specific to new students. This year, we're going to invite both first-year students and second-year students, because we know that even though we had a similar online program last year, it's not the same. We're going to have a host of activities and help get students acclimated from day one. This is a really important program, in my opinion, kind of what I would like to think of as an extension of orientation, because it provides a little bit different and rich information that we don't have time to communicate during student orientation. So just everybody stay alert for information about that. I think in the I hope in the PowerPoints and orientation there might be a plug about that, but just want to give a quick shout out to that, so that students are keeping it top of mind.
Yeah, I love how you guys are reaching out to the second year students as well, because they've had a very tough experience as well. But I'm glad that that's being able to be put together. I'm looking forward to seeing how it turns out, especially just the whole semester in general. It'll be an adjustment for sure, but an exciting adjustment for many. But I just wanted to thank you, Amy, for joining us today. Thank you, Kelly, for being my co-host. And like Kelly said, if you want to see more Mastering Maize and Blue episodes, feel free to visit that website or the U of M Dearborn YouTube channel. Those will be posted there. But other than that, thank you for watching, and peace.